Upgrading your weapon or your needle inside of Hollow Knight Silksong will take you a long time, but you have to look for very specific upgrades. I'm going to take you through all the locations where you can find this upgrade and where you are able to go to actually upgrade it when you find this upgrade item. Let's get into it. Now, to get the very first upgrade of your weapon is very easy. All you have to do is make your way to Bellheart, but when you first get to Bellheart, you'll see that they are all strung up. You have to complete a boss fight inside of this area that is above Bellheart that I don't want to spoil for you here, but it is fairly easy to get to. Once you have freed Bellheart, you're able to jump up onto these different bells that are housing different shops, but one in particular that you want to focus on is the one with 3 needles on its door. This, as you're probably going to guess, is going to be the main location where you go and upgrade your needle. You'll be talking to the Pinmaster. That is going to be the main person you interact with throughout this entire video in the game to upgrade your needle. After you save Bellheart, the first time you interact with him, he's going to automatically just upgrade your weapon, but then you'll be able to go and start a new wish for him called Pinmaster's Oil, where you need to make your way to the Citadel to find one of these different pieces of pale oil. There are a couple different pale oils in the game. Moving on to the first location I'm going to show you, which is going to be the most free pale oil that you'll be able to come across. You need to progress the game until you come across the Whispering Vaults. Once you arrive here, you want to make your way to this large room that I'm about to show you inside of the game following my map, because it's going to progress you into another large room that is going to be filled with boxes that you need to move in a particular way, basically just a small puzzle with all these different boxes to unlock a hidden room back in the Coral Chambers. It is not difficult at all to figure out where you need to take these different boxes inside of this room, and eventually you'll come across one of the entrances to this extra room in the Coral Chambers where you're going to see an item on a table that is going to be your first pale oil. Once you get this pale oil, simply make your way back to Bellheart and the Pinmaster, interact with him to complete this wish, and he'll automatically go and upgrade your weapon for you. And he will tell you that you are still able to upgrade your needle, but of course you're going to need more pale oil. So let's go over the different locations where you can get the 2 other pale oils. Now, the second easiest way to get your next pale oil is going to be inside of a particular wish called the Great Taste of Farloom that you can find inside of the dining halls inside of the Coral Chambers, and you'll notice that there's a container that has a pale oil inside. But of course you can't just take the oil, that would be too easy. You have to complete the wish for the bug in front of this pedestal, and that is going to be the wish that we're going through, the Great Taste of Farloom. You have to go throughout the entire game and through several different regions inside the game and find 5 specific ingredients. These all range in wildly different difficulties to actually get these different items, but let's begin with all of them so you can get an idea of where you have to go, because this will take you pretty much half the game to get to every location. Now, the first and by far the easiest is going to be the Mossberry Stew. You can get the Mossberry Stew by interacting with a druid inside a bone bottom. Make your way to the part of the map that I'm showing you, you'll eventually come across this cave that has this eerie green glow in it. In here, you're going to find a druid that you are actually going to have to complete another side quest first to actually interact with the druid and get the Mossberry Stew. That side quest is called Berry Picking in Bone Bottom that you find on the wish board when it is created. It's a very simple side quest. It will not take you very long to complete. Once you do that, you can simply just talk to the Moss Druid once again after you complete the berry picking wish, and they're simply just going to give you the Mossberry Stew when you ask. Now, the second easiest item that you need to get is going to be that vintage nectar. You can find this inside of the halfway home inside of Greymoor. All you have to do is go and talk to the owner of the halfway house, and he'll actually sell you this particular vintage for a fair amount of rosaries. And when I say a fair amount of rosaries, I mean 480 rosaries, which is not a small amount, and you're going to have to grind this out unless you have some rosary strings available. Now, there is an additional part to this. After you purchase this particular vintage, you have to go down into the cellar and get it, but stuff occurs down there that I don't want to spoil for you. Just know that there is more to this, but the biggest part of actually unlocking the vintage and getting it, you have to dish out those rosaries. Next item on the list that's going to be fairly easy for you to get after doing a boss fight is going to be inside of Sinner's Row. This is going to be the Pickled Muck Maggot, which just sounds absolutely lovely to grab. You are going to need the double jump ability to even get to this location. Just keep that in mind before you make it to Sinner's Road, and you make your way down into this small room where you see a shaft that you have to double jump into. That brings you into another set of rooms that you are able to unlock. This is of course going to make it easier to get back into this room, because this room is going to have a boss fight inside of it that I'm not going to spoil for you. Just know that you are going to have to fight a boss to get this particular item. Now, once you defeat this boss, it will be an item that drops from them after you have defeated them, and all you have to do is pick it up from the ground. Now, the next item that I'm going to talk about is going to be the Crust Nut. You can only get the Crust Nut inside of the Sands of Karak, and you can only get to the Sands of Karak if you go through the Blasted Steps to this specific area. As you know, the Blasted Steps are already a little bit of a challenge to get through, and the Sands of Karak are even worse. It is filled with a lot of different jumping challenges that are very difficult, but when you get into the Sands of Karak region, I want you to follow the path that I'm going to show you, as you have to get into a particular section of the Sands of Karak, and as soon as you get here, you are going to have to deal with another set of very difficult jumping puzzles, while there are also spikes everywhere. I highly recommend, if you haven't gone to this particular section that I'm about to show you, that you look through my entire jumping before you do that, so you have an idea of where you need to go, because there are dead ends inside of this small section inside of the Sands of Karak, and you can very easily die. Now, of course, inside my video, I've cleared out most of the spikes. That is going to be the biggest challenge, because you can easily jump into them. You can easily knock down some of these other shell-looking monsters that you see me jumping over, and that, of course, is going to add its own set of challenges to get this particular crust nut ingredient. But what I will tell you is that you are able to create a shortcut back down to the blasted steps that will make this a lot easier to get back to. Instead of going through a major set of the jumping puzzles to get back to the Sands of Karak, it's going to be a giant red pillar at the top of the area that you see me jumping into this smaller region, if that makes sense. Just look around the area before going into this section. You'll see a breakable giant pillar. Now, once all that is said and done and you have made your way through this giant jumping puzzle, you'll find the crust nut inside of this even larger nut, and that's where you are able to try and make your way back alive. Now, the final ingredient is called the Courier's Rasher, and the only way you're actually able to do this Courier's Rasher challenge is that you have to help out the two different couriers inside a Bellheart. There are going to be two separate wishes that you have to complete first before you're even able to talk to these two guys on your screen. It'll be very obvious which wish you have to do, because it's going to be my missing courier for the very first one, and the other one's going to have another one about a missing courier. You just have to complete these two, and these two guys will start showing up inside a Bellheart. Now, these two wishes that you have to do ahead of time are simply a search and rescue mission. I won't spoil those for you. I did cover my missing courier in a different video to give you an idea of what you unlock at this particular shop that I'm talking to the shopkeeper right now, if you want to go and check that out to speed up the process. And once you have completed those two previous wishes, you'll be able to talk to the two couriers just above the shop, and you'll see that you're able to do a delivery of the Courier's Rasher. Now, here's the thing. This is by far going to be the most difficult, because you are on a time limit, a hit amount, and you have to get this all the way back up to the same location that we started this entire side quest without getting hit too many times, and doing it in the time limit that is available to you, as you see from the rasher on the left side of my screen. Now, the real kicker about this is you can't use any fast travel. You have to do this on foot. If you try to do this with the fast travel, the Courier's Rasher will automatically be destroyed, and of course it's going to cause you to fail the mission. Now, don't worry if you do end up actually failing this. You can always go back to the same place in the Bellheart. You can go back and talk to the couriers to restart this. But again, this is very difficult. This is not easy. It took me several attempts using very interesting and very different sets of tools every single time to make sure I do this correctly. What I recommend that you equip is the Silk Speed Anklets, which allows you to run faster by using the silk available to you, and also using the potion that you get from helping out and finding a certain number of lost fleas to the flea caravan. That potion from the flea caravan, as you see in game, speeds up not only your attack power, but of course something we want to really focus on is your running speed. Now, that potion does wear off over time, and of course you're not going to have an unlimited amount of silk inside of your inventory, so you will slow down every now and then. But the main reason that I keep talking over my pathing is to give you an idea of what I did to make it in time to actually complete this mission. But of course, it is entirely up to you if you want to follow the path that I am showing you here. You're welcome to form your own path, but again, you just have to make it in time inside of the time limit shown on the left side of your screen with the rasher, and without getting hit enough times that the rasher is going to explode. At this point, I will talk to you again so you can analyze the route that I'm taking once we get to the dining hall. Now once you make it to the dining hall and you have fully completed the courier's rasher with everything else in hand, as soon as you speak to this bug, he will automatically start going through the finalization process of this entire quest line that is going to lead you into a small cutscene that I won't spoil for you, so I'm going to skip to the after part, which is definitely something that you're not prepared for. But as soon as you're done with that cutscene, you'll see that the little case is open. You're able to take the oil. Now with the oil, you want to make your way back down to Bellheart. Of course, back in Bellheart, now that you have this pale oil, you're able to upgrade your needle once again, but this time around, including with the oil, you have to pay some rosaries to actually get it upgraded. It really isn't all that many rosaries, but it may be a little steep for some people, so make sure you have 500 handy when you go and try to upgrade it for the second time. Now the third and final way that you can get pale oil is actually unlocking Act 3, which of course is not an easy feat to do. You have to go and do a certain number of a lot of different side quests and wishes inside of Bellheart, Bone Bottom, and Songclave. I'm not 100% certain which of the wishes in all three of these locations you have to complete and which ones you can just ignore, so I highly recommend just doing all of them along the way as you go through the game, trying to get to Act 3 just so you cover all your bases. But you'll know you've done enough of the wishes when you go back to Songclave and you talk to this individual here in front of the first shrine. He's going to give you the wish, Silk and Soul, that you have to complete to even start working on Act 3. Once you complete the Silk and Soul wish, you have to then go and defeat the essential end game boss that you normally have to defeat anyway, and it'll throw you into a cutscene once you do that will then signify you have started Act 3. You'll also know that you moved into Act 3 when you go and select the profile that you just defeated the boss on, and it looks like this. You just have to interact with this profile enough until it unlocks, and it'll show you that you don't know where you are, but this will also just give you another indication that you are in a different act. One final requirement that you need to get to this pale oil, you also need to go and find all 30 of the fleas inside of the game. So to recap this, you need to start Act 3 by completing wishes inside of Songclave, Bone Bottom, and Bellheart. You also need to go and find all 30 of the missing fleas and then move the flea caravan to its final location. This is not going to be an easy task, but it is Silksong, so you kind of expect this going forward. Now for this video's sake, let's say you've done everything that I just mentioned. You're going to have a brand new wish inside of Bellheart once you have moved the flea caravan into the new location, the latest location, the final location inside of Act 3, asking you to go to the final spot of the flea caravan. If you forgot where it was, this is going to be inside of the petrified ducts. After you have accepted this wish, you'll be able to talk to the flea master, and this is actually going to start something that you're probably not prepared for when you agree to accompany them in their final act. Interacting with the flea master is actually going to kick off the flea festival, where you have to go and play a couple different flea-based mini games. And I'm not kidding, there's 3 flea-based mini games that you have to complete and get the highest score in to actually obtain the pale oil and a ton of rosaries. It's a very fun and lighthearted situation that you get thrown into for the festival of the flea. And again, there's 3 of these mini games. One where you have to keep on hitting fleas up in the air to get a high score. Another is dodging fleas enough time to get to the high score. And a third one is that you have to make yourself jump off of the fleas enough time to get the high score. These mini games will be challenging. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. It's going to take you a little bit of time, like it did for me if you're not prepared for it. Just making sure that you know what you're walking into, what you have to complete to get to the last pale oil. Once you have gotten the high score for all 3 of these mini games, you'll start hitting a pinata until it finally explodes. And when it does finally explode, you'll see an item flies out. That final item is going to be the final pale oil inside the game to upgrade your needle to its highest level. Now, of course, you want to make your way back to Bellheart to upgrade it for the final time. But when you arrive in Bellheart, you'll notice that there is a sign on the actual Pinmaster's bell home that's telling you he goes to a grave in the woods, that you have to then go and find him in those graves. Where you see on my map in Shellwood, where you see my little cocoon, is where he's going to be. You are going to have a small fight that you have to deal with inside of this area, just giving you a heads up. Once you have dealt with all the enemies inside of this fight, you'll be able to talk to the Pinmaster. He'll thank you for saving him, and then he will return back to his home in Bellheart. Now that you have saved the Pinmaster and he's back at home, you can go and do that final upgrade. Again, it's going to require a pale oil and some rosaries. This time around, it's going to be more expensive than the last. It's going to cost you 680 rosaries, but it is well worth the power upgrade. I do hope you guys found this walkthrough guide helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe buttons for me down below, so I know that you did find this entire video guide to upgrade your weapon to its fullest level helpful. Enjoy the max power on your needle inside of Silksong, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.